Ooh, you're muted.
Oh, I am muted. I I am still learning the technology. I am glad you pointed that out, Destiny. So my name is Kevin Sanderson. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at My Amazon Guy, and I'm super excited to be joined by my good friend Destiny Washan. So Destiny, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself here in a moment, but I just want to say thank you for joining us.
Of course, excited to be here.
Yes, super excited that you're here. And so everyone watching, I have an irrational paranoia that I'm going to mess up the technology, just like I did there with leaving myself muted. So just to make sure you can hear us, if you don't mind, give it a little thumbs up, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or wherever, or just leave a little comment. Yes, I can hear you, Kevin. I can hear Destiny. You can hear both of us. So that would greatly help us and make me feel better with my irrational nervousness on things like that. So also just wanted to give a quick little housekeeping note on the format here. We'll be taking questions as we go. It will be first come, first serve. So I highly recommend if you get a question come up in your mind or you think of something, put it in the chat while you still can. Don't wait for a break, because the last couple of times we've done this, we've run out of time because I want to respect Destiny's time for being here. So looks like people are saying that they can hear us. So Roella, hopefully I said your name right, can hear us. Do have some thumbs up on Facebook as well. So with that, Destiny, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Destaney Washan. I am CEO of Better AMS. I have been doing Amazon advertising things for going on 6 years now, and our company currently manages around $75 million worth of spend across search and DSP. So a lot of data, a lot of practice, and a lot of work across a lot of different categories.
Yes, and Destiny is very knowledgeable, has a lot of data points to talk about. So if you have any burning questions, Destiny is amazing at what she does. So make sure you get your questions in, because you don't always get the chance to ask somebody like Destiny questions about your particular situation like you would right now. So if you're watching the replay, you can learn from what everyone is asking. But for those of you who are watching live, go ahead and get your questions in while you still can. And with that, I just wanted to thank Jeffrey for the super chat there, the $10. So really wanted to make sure his questions got in. So asked 3 questions. So this is part 1 of 3. So we'll go through them one by one. So thank you to Jeffrey. And again, if you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat, no matter where you are asking them. And I also want to just say, there are no dumb questions. Whatever question you have, I guarantee you someone else is like, I wish I had thought of that. I'm so glad that person asked that. So with that, Jeffrey asks, Brand Metrics provides conversion data at the category level via category median number, not the average, while the targeting tab provides conversion at the keyword level. Can you therefore still use Brand Metrics conversion data as an accurate benchmark for comparison with the targeting tab conversion number? And then there's a follow-up question to that, but we'll unpack that first.
Perfect. So for one, I typically don't compare the two. They are showing you very different sets of data. Brand Metrics is showing you your retail data and your advertising data. So it is 10x more powerful, in my opinion, than just your targeting tab data. So that's kind of the first basis I would call out. I rely on Brand Metrics when I'm trying to view how I am doing related to the whole category. So if you think about what a category is, you can usually go pretty niche, but if I'm, selling a marker or a Sharpie, like I'm going to view the category data for markers, right? So it's going to be a lot more broad. And again, it is showing me advertising and organic data. So it's a lot more holistic view. My favorite aspect of the Brand Metrics tab is it is showing me a direct comparison to that category median. So it is the best way to say, hey, I am performing less than category median or category top, which is also very valuable, or I am performing better than. And then once you have that baseline metric, you can then decide, let's look at my targeting tab and get my advertising data. Now, another call I'm going to have is your targeting tab is not a full view either. And I don't love using the targeting tab as that direct comparison, because your targeting tab is going to be dependent on what you're targeting. So again, brand metrics is showing you the whole category. Your targeting tab is going to be dependent on how good your keyword research is. If I take over someone's account and their keyword research is terrible and they're selling a marker, but they're targeting, blue tape, it's going to make the conversion rate look terrible, but it's not actually the brand's performance, it's the targeting. And your targeting tab's missing out on sponsored brands data as well. So it's missing a lot of different data. Now, if I'm only vetting Amazon advertising performance, I would definitely take a look at the targeting tab. It's one of my best ways to optimize, but don't compare the two. The third question here is there a third-party software that can get a more accurate benchmark on conversion rate on the keyword level within a category? One, search query performance gives us this. So that's probably my first recommendation, is just pull your search query performance data, because that's going to show you your brand share and everything else on the search term level. Third-party softwares don't necessarily get this data. So the Amazon API does not allow us to see this unless it's through the brand metrics API. So it's not necessarily anything that I would trust, because if third-party softwares are giving you this data, it's typically built off their own algorithmic formula, which isn't fantastic, and they need to have more data to make it more accurate. So you would have to be looking at a PackView, Perpetua, Quartile, or Take-A, anyone running a high enough amount of spend to have accurate category analysis.
Gotcha. Okay. So at best, just start with what Amazon gives you.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So definitely lots of thumbs up here. People saying hello. So glad to see everyone here. Let's see. Another question came in from Abdullah. Hello, my Amazon guy. I'm working as a virtual assistant. Is my client's click-through rate is very high. I tell him change the picture because his main image is not attractive, and top sale generates 16,000 per month in sales. So I think what this question is getting at is the importance of the main image. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think this specific question is trying to compare two things that maybe shouldn't be compared per se in this instance. If you have a high click-through rate, that's a good thing. That means that people are seeing your image and clicking into your listing. So even if you think it may not be attractive, if it's showcasing otherwise in the data, then that's kind of a little bit of a different story. A high click-through rate can be a really, really good thing, because that means you have such a good image. People are willing to click in and look at your product detail page. If they're not converting, then maybe you have an issue with your image not telling the full story of what your product is.
Got it. Exactly. So that's a very good point. So you got really two pieces of that funnel: the click, that they click and see like, oh, okay, this is the product I want to explore more about. And then are they converting by adding it to the cart and purchasing it? And so if they're clicking through, that's good. But if they're not converting, then it's another issue. So excellent point there. All right. So next up, another question from Abdullah. My client has an old auto campaign and manual campaign. I set bids after calculation bid as per data requirements. I'm moving for ASIN targeting and in search term keywords with good ACOS. Can I add those?
I'm going to say yes as a generalization. The one thing I would state is I don't like adding new keywords to my old campaigns. So if I have campaigns that are already running successfully, you don't want to add new keywords to that campaign, because it's going to change your whole performance. Instead, you want to create a new campaign so you can test that data that you're pulling from your auto campaign or your search term reports, and start slower and scale as needed. But in general, everyone should be harvesting their keywords. Keyword research should never stop. I mean, almost every week, if you have a high spend account, or every month, you need to be pulling that search term report, looking for all of your new long tail search terms and putting them into new manual campaigns.
Got it. Awesome. Interesting question here. How to choose the right keyword?
Well,
which
the
might
one
be
thing
keyword.
Yes.
Well, let's answer both questions.
How to choose the right keyboard. My team gets mad because I still use my general Mac keyboard over here. So on the keyword research side, I always say in the beginning, don't overthink it. You know exactly what you're selling. If you're selling a yellow marker, you can come up with the keywords you would type as a customer to find that. To expand upon that, there's a few different tools we like to use. We like using Helium 10. We like using Amazon suggested keywords. We run auto campaigns to, do some keyword research for us. We use merchant words. But at the end of the day, I think most people overthink keyword research. Type in the terms into Amazon, and if you see relevant products, it's probably a good keyword. But if I type in yellow pin and I don't see any other products that look like mine, it's probably not a keyword for you. So definitely use all the tools that you have, but don't overthink it. Just look for the keywords that are related to your product.
Yes, let the data tell you. And one thing, I'm going to answer a question that was not asked, but it's one I'm excited about. And so I know the question is about keyboard, which we assumed was keyword, but I'm going to talk about mouse. And so we all know this is kind of your standard mouse. It's like this. I was having the worst pains in my hand and my wrist, and like it felt like cold and numb, and it would just hurt at the end of the day. I got a one where it's like tilted, so it's a little bit more of a natural hand movement, and so it has helped. So if anyone is having issues with something more ergonomic, try whether a vertical or an angled mouse.
It's a life hack.
Total life hack side notes there. So, all right. Next up, also from Abdullah, async keywords and manual or wait for image change.
I, again, make database decisions. If you're performing well with the image you have now, then continue to run those keywords and those asins. And then when you change your image, just wait and see if your data changes. If you change your image and see a drop in conversion rate, you should probably go back to the other image. If you change your image and see an improvement in conversion rate, that means you can probably increase your bids and budgets and still maintain the same ACOS while driving more sales.
Yeah, because I mean, I would think intuitively, and again, let the data tell you, but intuitively, if you change your main image, it's still going to be the same keywords, either image that would be affecting the product because it's relevant to the product overall. Just the image is helping people to make the decision, and the image is so powerful, but it's still the same keywords that should be feeding to it.
Yep.
All right. Next up, Karan Singh, one area of PPC which I have avoided is doing bid adjustment by placement. This is because of how we can optimize bids efficiently via bulk sheets. If there is a bid adjustment, for example, my campaign is 50%, top of search multiplier for bid for a keyword is $1, and the CPC of the keyword is $1.50. ACOS is 100%. I know simply lowering the bid will therefore bring the CPC down potentially. But if we're using bulk sheets, which I'm a big fan of, how can we optimize many campaigns like this in bulk? We need to know which campaigns have modifiers and the percent change is.
This is a great question. So in general, I don't like doing placement modifiers across a ton of campaigns unless those campaigns are one keyword only. And that's important to note because when you are looking at placement modifiers, they are applied to every single keyword you have in the campaign. So if you have 50 keywords in a campaign, you are allowing Amazon to increase your bid on every single keyword, which means not all of your keywords are going to be profitable at any given time. Typically, you have certain keywords you're willing to take a loss on, certain keywords you're not. So what ends up happening is you apply a placement modifier and it messes up your bid management for every single keyword. So in general, like at scale, we don't run placement modifiers in every single campaign because, again, messes up all of your bid management and ruins a lot of your profitability. What we do is we figure out what keywords we want to win top of search on from a strategic reason, from a ranking campaign reason, or a market share reason. And we will create campaigns and put in the name. We typically do TOPR or TOS, top of search or top of page rate. And then since we have it in the campaign name, we can then go into bulk and we can adjust within the bulk what that placement modifier is because it's in the campaign name. So we know exactly how to identify what strategies we're wanting to put it in and then optimize according to campaign name. So you're not having to filter through all the data within bulk sheets.
That's nice. And I hadn't thought of that, of doing a modifier in or basically having as part of your campaign naming structure, the
Mhm.
modifier, because you can see that'd be cleaner. So you're just filtering for those to see which ones you want to change. You could also just filter for the ones that you have a modifier on and see if you want to make those. But I still like the idea of having it in the name, so that way you can go back and say, oh, no, I didn't want to add this one. Or,
Yep.
oh, I increased this one by 50%, but it wasn't one of the ones I wanted to. So that would help flag it. So it's kind of a double check. I like that. It's good. Good PPC life hack. All right. So then now we've got Jaleel. Pinner asks, I've heard broad match got a change in search function for the keyword. Can you give an explanation on the difference in search function between broad match modified, and phrase using keyword gel memory foam?
Yeah. So for those who have been in this space for a while, you'll remember sponsored brands used to have a different broad match than sponsored products. In that, if we use gel memory foam as an example, you can bid on gel memory foam and broad match, and what might show up is mattress pad. So no actual keywords that are related, or I'm trying to do all this math. I'm like not math, but I'm trying to think of all the keyword combinations in my head.
Sure.
Memory mattress or memory pillow, right? So if you think about it, if you're bidding on gel memory foam, you're probably advertising a, foam mattress pad. But if your ad shows up for memory pillow, it's not the same. So you don't want to show up for that, right? So it goes a lot more broad. So recently people have been claiming they've seen the same thing on sponsored products. If you have good bid management, it doesn't really matter a ton because you're just going to lower your bids on those broader terms, then move over the search terms to manual. So I haven't seen a crazy difference in top line, if we're being honest, because we lower bids when we go broader and we move over search terms to manual campaigns. So that's kind of one thing to note. But in general, if you're focused on profitability, I would just run exact match and phrase match. And if you don't have good bid management, run exact match and phrase match. Because basically you don't want your product showing up for more broad keywords that aren't directly aligned. For using yellow marker again, if I'm bidding on yellow marker and broad, it's very possible I'm going to show up for purple marker for kids. Right? If someone's looking for a yellow marker, they're not going to buy a purple marker. They may click trying to see if I have a purple variation, but when they don't, they're going to leave. So that's kind of why it's an important distinction to, again, make sure you're doing your keyword research and you're optimizing really, really well. And then you can avoid this problem as a whole. Now, the hack or the trick on sponsored brands was to add a plus sign to your keywords. So you would run gel memory foam with a plus sign, and that would be a broad match modifier, which would mean you need to hit all of the keywords within that word, that keyword. Technically, it's not available for sponsored products. People have been trying it still, but I've seen little to no actual results to say, hey, it does make a difference. So I wouldn't get too caught up on it. Focus on exact and phrase match if you're worried about it at all. If not, just be more aggressive with your bid management to mitigate any bleeding spend in that area.
Got it. Yes. Bid management is usually the solution to most PPC issues. All right. Hamid Raza on LinkedIn asks, when we say backend search term covers 250 bytes, not characters, how many characters can be added? So I'll let you take this one. And then
I have no idea. This is a Steven thing.
Steven is very passionate about this. And I've even challenged him a couple times of like, can you walk me through that? And like, we went and like took like a byte counter and a keyword counter. And it was basically, you could take out all the spaces. The keyword counters were counting the spaces. So spaces are not taking up any bytes. And every character is not necessarily a byte. And so which characters are bytes and which ones are not. So it depends, but you might have 300 characters. You might have 270 characters. And so I would play with both and just know that you have a little bit of wiggle room to play with. But yes, that's a good back-end search optimization hack. All right. Next up, does search query performance data include the PPC data too, or is it only organic?
This argument is in like every single group I don't have the answer top of mind. I'm leaning towards yes. I think the last time I read. The one thing I will call out is your search query is only pulling data from searches. So not on the PDP, not so like some people are saying, well, my advertising searches for this keyword is higher. Well, yeah, that's because you're still showing up on the product detail page, sponsored carousels. Search query performance is just showing the attributed data for your searches. So it's going to be attributed quite a bit different. So you're not going to see perfect alignment. As with everything on Amazon, different product teams pull different data sources and different date ranges. So you may pull your brand metrics data versus your business report data versus your advertising data versus your SQP data and see that nothing aligns perfectly. That's normal. That's 100% normal because they're all piping from different data sources and different time frames.
Yeah, different data sources, different time frames, different methods of which ones round when in the calculation, which can make a big difference too. So yeah, so that's interesting. And that can be a very hot topic sometimes too, of what data is included where. And the reality
Why
is
is this
sometimes
wrong?
right,
Amazon's
here's why
lying to
it's
me.
this. Exactly. But a lot of times, it's like a pilot flying a plane, if they're looking at like their altitude and everything, it's not 100% totally accurate, but it's accurate enough that they fly the plane and get us there on time. So
exactly.
all right. Jaleel asked also if you have a general tips info about the mattress niche, niche or niche. That might be another controversial topic.
That's a good one.
Yes, on Amazon. Please do tell. First time in this category, and I didn't know it was so competitive. Tell me what I don't know. So that might just be in general what to do in a competitive niche, and then if you have topic or tips for the mattress. But first, niche or niche.
I go back and forth depending on who I'm talking to. Everyone says like riches are in the niches, which makes me lean to that. But then, I always hear smart people say niche. So then I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm stressed.
Well, it might just be because they usually have like a British accent and they say niche. And I think Canadians like to say niche too. And then you could have a map of the US that's color coded based on niche or niche. But
I was going to go rabbit hole on that, but I'm in the Q&A, so I should wait.
Exactly. It's all good. All right, cool. So what are your tips here?
Yeah, so a few things. I am familiar with this category, but I'll also zoom out to broader high price point items in competitive categories. There's two really big things I'm going to kind of focus on. One, your bid management needs to be a lot different because, you'll always hear, oh, if you get 10 clicks and no orders, pause the keyword, that's bad. Absolutely, that's not true. And it's even more so not true in competitive categories. So if you have $1,000 product, you need to be getting almost 100 to 200 clicks before making an optimization decision. Because for one, most buyers don't buy really expensive products within 5 minutes. It takes them a lot of time. So they're going to need to see the ad multiple times, see the product multiple times. And two, a lot of people aren't going to buy an expensive product. So you need to be willing to have a larger threshold of clicks on a product that is that expensive. So you may go one day and get, $3,000 worth of spend and no orders. But then 2 to 3 days from now, that attribution comes in and you realize that you did end up getting orders. So keep your bid management a lot more flexible and like widen your typical constraints. The second thing I will say is in a competitive category in general, you have to start optimizing for things other than ACOS. So do not focus strictly on profitability, focus on placements, focus on new to brand growth, focus on share of voice or market share, or if we use search query performance, I think it's brand share percentage. Start using those insights to tell your story because I'm pretty sure from what I've seen in the mattress category, it can get upwards of $10 to $20 to $50 CPCs on your top keywords because they have such an expensive price point that it's okay if they spend $50 a click. They can still break even on that. So those are kind of two things. And I'll throw in a bonus tip. DSP does really, really well in these types of categories because, again, a customer needs to see the product multiple times, and DSP allows you to continuously remarket them until they end up purchasing.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And if you think about like YouTube, for example, anyone who's had a YouTube account for the last few years has probably seen purple mattress break eggs on
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Nice.
they've done well at that. Like now, like Purple is in like, you know, Ashley and City
Yep.
Furniture around here, and they didn't get that way overnight, but they made a lot of touch points. And so,
Yep.
you know, if you're buying markers, you know pretty quickly. Oh, I think I lost Destiny. If you're buying markers, you know pretty quickly. Hopefully, we get Destiny back. I don't know if her internet just went out, but oh, there she is.
Sorry.
We lost you. We were worried sick.
It literally just like refreshed and re-entered me in the studio. So I was like, all right, that worked out well.
That happens
Like
sometimes. As I was saying in the beginning, sometimes I'm paranoid about technology, but literally technology stuff happens when you don't want
yes.
it to. So
Yes.
we're glad to see you back. We're glad to see you back. But yeah, I was just about to say, like, markers are something that, you know, people buy very quickly and you know quickly. But, you know, if you're going to sleep on a mattress for, you know, 10, 15 years and spend a grand or two or $4,000 or whatever they are these days, you want to spend some time researching it. And so
100%.
to your point, that's a lot of clicking around. And so it's not, you know, 10 and you know if that's, you know, relevant or not. It's going to be a lot more data. So
Yep.
yeah, good point. All right, next up we've got Maz asked, happy Friday. A little early, but I love the enthusiasm. One of my brand's products has a super high click-through rate as well, oftentimes 7 to 13% plus. But the conversions usually are quite low, 1 sale per 5 clicks or 1 per 9 sometimes. Recommendations?
This is a fun one. One of the first things I will say without knowing your specific category is these aren't bad conversion rates.
Yeah.
That's a 20% conversion rate and a 10% conversion rate. And I'm assuming you're giving me advertising conversion rates. So for advertising, this is, I would say, pretty generic. Like this is what we see across the board. And some of our like largest brands, like retail brands, will get up to 30-40% advertising conversion rate, but that's unusual. So I'm cautious to give advice without knowing the category, but like check out your brand metrics and compare it to category top. Category top will show you exactly what the average median conversion rate is within your category, and you can compare it directly to your own brand. So that's kind of the first thing. The second thing is if you have a 20% conversion rate, again, that is strong. So just continue to spend money on that keyword, improve your organic rank so you can focus on your overall velocity. Other than that, you know, I'll give you the general spiel about making sure your listing's optimized, making sure your keywords are as aligned as possible, and to use keyword research to find more long tail terms that may be more precise and more profitable and a higher conversion rate for you.
Well, and I don't want to speak for Steven because he's not here, but if he was here, he would say traffic trumps conversion rate all day long. So if you have a good click-through rate, that's great. And to Destiny's point, you know, really when you think about it, Amazon, you know, here we are like, oh, you know, it's like a 10, 11% conversion rate. You know, how do I improve that? It's not bad. You know, if you're on Shopify and you have a 2% conversion rate, you are doing better than almost everybody.
Yep.
And so, you know, sometimes we just got to think of, you know, we're a little spoiled, but, you know, a lot of it too is also category dependent and a lot of other factors. So, someone said other questions. We'd be happy to answer your questions. Just put them into the chat. They might be down below. And then on Facebook, Osama asked, how we can showcase the factor in the main image that our product material is the best among all competitors. That's an interesting one. What are your thoughts on main image in general? And then maybe we can drill into this question.
I like following TOS, and it's not worthwhile for me to risk having any suspensions. This is kind of the one comment I'll make, but again, imagery is not my skill set, so I'll let you kind of take it from there.
Yes. So some of it is, you know, we also got to remember what is the messaging that you're trying to get across. And so always trying to remember what is the messaging you're getting across, and does that matter to the person in making the decision they're going to make. So if we're talking about main image, most of the time we're really talking about improving click-through rate. Best among all competitors, you know, that's a tough one. because I don't even think Amazon would let you have, if you had like best JD Power best in class or something like that, like something
Yeah.
that's recognized. Even that they wouldn't let you do. So saying best among all competitors, here's the thing you also have to do is put yourself in the mind of a customer. If in the image it says best in class, best amongst customers, do they believe you? Probably not, because they know you're incentivized to make those claims. Even if they're true, they're less likely to buy it if it's coming from you as the brand owner, basically. And so they're not going to believe it there. So if you are going to skirt in the gray area a little bit, I wouldn't try to skirt on trying to showcase that you're best amongst competitors. Maybe in a secondary image, you have a comparison chart that shows us versus competitors, that you have more volume, or fluffier pillows, or whatever it is, that very quickly they grasp that information. But
Yep.
best amongst all competitors, there's other ways to get that across without even saying it. So hopefully that helped. John, who is also from my Amazon guy, in theory, if a vertical mouse is superior to a traditional mouse, then a vertical keyboard should be amazing. Change my mind.
I'll agree.
I don't know. Yeah, that one feels like I'm just doing that. My
Does it
tendons or
help?
whatever, my hand, no, it hurts. But a
Yeah,
vertical mouse, like, do you shake people's hand like this, or do you shake them like this? Change my mind.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yes. And maybe I have some of the problems because when I was younger, I worked in restaurants, and holding a tray like this is awful. And like there were times I would
Yeah.
leave a shift and I would have to, dating myself here, before you'd start the car like this, you'd start a car
Yep.
like this. Sometimes I literally would have to take my other hand to turn it. So, all right. So Eden's Decor asks, my auto campaign is not spending. I've increased bids, but still nothing. What can I do?
I would say 90% of the time your bid is still too low. Now there's two other issues. It could be a relevancy issue. You're not indexed for that product you're trying to advertise yet, but that's less likely in an auto campaign. Two, it could be an eligibility issue as well, but I'm assuming you've checked that. Increase your bid to a lot higher than you expect and then test. You can typically see a bid increase change within a couple hours, sometimes a couple minutes if you increase it high enough. Typically I will say increase to $5 to $10 and wait 20 to 30 minutes, a few hours. And if you start seeing impressions come through, your bid was too low. If that doesn't work, then we can try a different method. But almost every single time I answer this question, it's because the bid was too low still.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to, you commented this, that, you probably already checked this. So we'll say the obvious things, because you probably don't make mistakes like me, who forgets to unmute himself when he starts the live stream. So just as I have to sometimes, did I unmute myself? Did I turn my camera on? Whatever, we've all had it where it's like, why is it not working when I type in numbers? Oh wait, I got to turn the number lock on. Are there mute/number lock things that maybe are obvious that maybe somehow got messed up along the way? Like, is the start date in the future? Do you have available inventory? Do you have a budget? Is it turned on or is it paused? And so just double check all those. I like to double check all those because technology is weird. And sometimes if you have a software tool connected, sometimes software tools have glitches and make changes that you didn't want them to make too. So I would also check that. Ankit says hi as well. Glad to have you. Abdullah says, sorry, my client's PPC CPC is high, not click-through rates. I recommend he changes the main image. I have good ASIN and keywords and auto search term. And I add in manual, what strategy you recommend, only manual top search bid. Now this is going back to your controversy over top of search modifiers.
Yes, a few different things here. One, your CPC is not necessarily that related to your main image. I think there's some different theories in this space, but at the end of the day, your CPC is related to the auction So improving your main image is not going to change your CPC that much. It'll change your conversion rate. So understand what KPIs relate to what outcomes is super important. But to get to the second half of the question, when I'm scraping my search term reports from auto campaigns, I put them in new manual campaigns. I used fixed bids because I have a bid management software in place and I don't want Amazon increasing and decreasing my bid on top of my software. I don't do top of search modifiers in the very beginning because, again, I just want to make sure these keywords are successful in a manual campaign before pushing them to the top of the page, which is more expensive and higher traffic, meaning I could get more clicks and no sales if I don't optimize first.
Awesome. All right. Also, before we get to this next question, just as a reminder, if you have questions, get them in now, because if you wait till the very end, there's a good chance we might say we're cutting off and you won't get a chance to ask your questions. So how often do you get a chance to ask Destaney questions? Destaney knows her stuff. I've known Destaney for about 3 years now, and I'm always impressed. And I feel like I'm always learning and taking notes when I have Destaney around me. So with that, Shazib, hopefully I said that right, Ahmed, how do you include the sponsor brand spend in product level tacos calculation?
You can't pull spend anywhere as of right now. There's rumors that's going to be rolled out, but it's not possible from the advertising console. So you can either do averages of whatever your landing page is. You can make assumptions based off the sales because we can pull the sales. So you can use that as your factor, but there's just nothing for it. So we always let brands know this is estimate data based off our SP performance and our SB sales, but we can't appropriately attribute sponsor brand spend because it's not given to us from Amazon.
You'd think they would help us with that. So Amazon, if you're watching, please add that to our list of wishes. All right, Karan asks, at what point, if ever, do you legitimately recommend change the bidding type of a campaign to dynamic up and down? I've only delivered with fixed and down only. When is up and down advice? That's also another potentially controversial topic.
Yeah, this one comes up. We have our own bid management. So I recommend fixed. If you're using any other software, run fixed. Now, if you're optimizing by hand, then it's probably best to do down only. If you're optimizing for sales and revenue and nothing else, then you could roll out up and down and just trust Amazon. But at the end of the day, if you're using a software, you don't want two applications making optimizations based off different algorithms, because then you're going to have a poor indicator of what your CPC needs to be adjusted on.
That's a good point, because Amazon may have a strategy, your software tool may have a strategy, you may have a strategy. So yes, you got to be careful sometimes, especially with up where you give them license. Now, I know some people will say, oh, but it's going to give you the clicks that are most likely to convert. And sometimes I wonder, how do they really know that? But
yes,
anyway,
yes.
Side note. All right. So Mohammed Fazil asks, for some relevant keywords in the campaigns are less in impression, though I am bidding very high compared to average bids. Is the only reason because of less search demand for that particular keywords, or any particular reasons? What do you think?
So the number one reason to know whether or not it's a demand problem or a bid problem is to look at your impression share report. If you are at 90% of impression share for that keyword, that means that you're showing up everywhere and you cannot show up more. You could show up 10% more. Right. So that means your ad is constantly there matching the demand. If you see that you have a 5% impression share, that means you're only getting 5% of impressions for that keyword, which means you have a bid problem. You're showing up on page 3 or page 4, so no one's really seeing you. So that's kind of like the biggest thing to check. Your impression share will tell you exactly if it's a demand problem or a bid problem. And if you have low impression share, increase your bids, because again, I will say suggested bids are an average of every placement on the page. Page 2, page 3, page 4, your product detail PDP carousels. So when you have 10-cent bids on page 20 and a $20 bid on page 1, what's that going to do to your average? So a lot of people aren't bidding near what they need to because they're just assuming suggested bids completely accurate.
Got it. All right. Hamid asks, or says, thanks. So our pleasure. I'm assuming we must have asked or answered a question. And then Mohammed Fazal asks,
So we got this one.
All right. Some relevant keywords. Oh, we already get that one? Oh, yes.
Yes. That's what we just did.
All right. And then Azer Masood asks how to calculate the actual seed bid for individual campaigns without disturbing the sales velocity.
It shouldn't. If you're talking about starting bids, then just make database decisions. If you bid too low and you don't get impressions, increase your bids. If you bid too high and you're unprofitable, decrease your bids. There's no perfect answer for starting bids. There's no exact formula. Don't try to forecast what your starting bid should be. Just check in every single day and optimize based off the data you're seeing.
Yeah, sometimes you just learn more when you're in the arena.
Yeah.
All right. Amazon, interesting name there. How can I enable by bylines for my storefront?
I don't know what this is referencing.
I'm not 100% sure either. So is that basically that you're sending traffic to your storefront with like sponsored brands? So, oh, looks like there might be a follow-up to there. I get a 10% conversion at $1.72 cost per click for pet supplies product is a 5 ROAS achievable at an average order value of $30.
But we can just do that math together right here.
Let's do it.
I was like, so if you have a 10% conversion rate, that means 10 clicks times $1.72 means we spent $17 and drove one order.
Mm-hmm.
So assuming our product is $25.
$30, it says.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Good point. Okay. So 10 clicks times $1.72 means we've spent $17.02 to drive one sell, which was equal to $30, which means we have a 60% ACOS, which is a 2.7 ROAS. Is that what that math is?
Be less than a 2 ROAS, right?
Yeah. 30 divided by 72.
Just real quick. Can you explain the math using their 5 ROAS as a goal of how you would convert that to ACOS?
Yes. So you have a 10% conversion rate, which means that 1 and 10 clicks is going to convert, right? Well, you know your spend here is $1.72. So if you have 10 clicks at $1.72, that means you spent $17 to acquire one customer. So you can do $30, which is your sales, divided by $17, which is your spend, which means you have less than a $2 ROAS. Mm-hmm. So with these metrics, no, it's not achievable. You either need to improve your conversion rate or decrease your CPC to make it affordable for you. Now, the problem is if you decrease your CPC, you're going to see a decrease in traffic as well. But you have all the math you need here to know whether or not you can get a $5 ROAS.
So I'm guessing what they're looking for is hope of, can I achieve this in the pet category? And so, because if we look at it the other way around too, a 5 ROAS is a 20% ACOS. So 1 divided by 5 gets us 0.2, which means 20%. So maybe on some keywords, and maybe to your point too, it would also decrease a lot of the traffic. But then at some point too, you also have to say, is it worth losing money forever on a keyword?
Yep.
And at a certain point, you have to say no. I know we say launching and driving rank and whatnot, but if you're not getting organic sales, and maybe it's not relevant to the customer, because at the end of the day, it's not what we think, it's what the customer thinks. So we might say, sure, we think you can do it, because from cheering for you and rooting for you, we think we would love for you to do it, but it doesn't matter what we think.
There's one other thing I'll add here is there's a lot of categories that are in this position to a T. It's becoming more pay to play. You have to bid higher to get any traffic. There's 2 things you need to focus on. I'm willing to take a loss on keywords if my organic rank is increasing. 100% any day. I talk to my brands. If you want to grow on Amazon, you need to improve your organic rank in stop. No one's going to find you on page 2 or page 3. It's like Google. No one goes to those pages. So unless you're driving traffic elsewhere, you need to typically stop focusing on just immediate ACOS or ROAS. Profit matters as a business owner with a P&L.
Mm-hmm.
But if your long-term goals are to grow, you need to start tracking your organic rank on that keyword and say, hey, my ROAS may only be $2, but that's fine because my organic sales are improving. So even though I'm spending the same amount of money, my organic sales are going up, which means my tacos is decreasing. So that's a much better metric to look at in this scenario than just a flat ROAS.
Yeah, and another angle to look at this too that I just thought of, that unfortunately Amazon doesn't give us great data, and feel free to correct me if you have a data source that would help with this, is lifetime value of a customer. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in pet supplies, like I have 2 of them, I'm surprised they're not walking around in the background. You know, we're constantly buying the same pet supplements, the same food, the same treats, the same whatever. And every now and then, I don't know why, but my wife will change it. And then we'll end up with the same ones for months. And so you might also have to think of it too as like, do you have subscribe and save? Do you have a replenishable pet supply? Like, is it something that people will buy ongoing every month or 2? Or is it, you know, grooming shears or something where they're only probably buy, you know, once or twice over the course of the dog's life? So that also has a factor too, which sometimes if you're in one where there's a high lifetime value of a customer, many of your competitors are like, I'll lose money on the first sale to get future sales to the same customer, even though we don't have a great way to track it. Shazia says hi as well. All right, so Maz asks 1 out of 2. So can you both talk a little bit about your new product finding and launch strategies for new brands? Is Amazon still the best platform to boost, launch a brand? And what makes an ideal product? Thoughts of price wars with Chinese sellers cutting out on products selling, or on good selling products. So basically, is Amazon still the right place? And how do you find profitable products? What are your thoughts?
If you are interested in building a brand, 100% Amazon's the right place. If you're interested in finding a get-rich-quick scheme, Amazon is no longer that place. There are a lot of people with a lot more money than you who can chase razor-thin margins and still make it make sense. So if your focus is on product differentiation and solving a human problem, that's when Amazon, I think, is still the perfect place. It's still the second largest retailer and the largest e-commerce platform at the end of the day. So that's kind of what I would say is a high level answer.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, we literally just had this conversation at a team meeting this morning. So I run marketing, which is not marketing Amazon products, but basically my Amazon guys external relationship with folks like yourself watching this. And one of the things we talked about is there is friction anytime you have a large company who is basically creating a platform for other people. It doesn't matter if you're selling State Farm or Allstate Insurance, or you have a McDonald's franchise or whatever else. If you have some business and there's some other company that kind of makes decisions for you, and it's a constantly changing marketplace, and you can only make so many moves, but they're also creating the opportunity for you. You kind of have to take the good and the bad. And some of that is there's more competition because other people know that they can come in and make it, but there's no other opportunity. Like, you can go on eBay. Great. Maybe you can rank top of page 1 for whatever keyword, but is it worth ranking and spending the time and effort to learn? You know, you may or may not have a product that would do well on Etsy. And even if it does well on Etsy, you probably need a pretty big catalog to make it work there. So Amazon is still the right place to be. And to Destiny's point, it is not a get rich quick. It is a get rich slowly and provide good value to people platform. But it's still the best in town. Will that be the same in 20 years? We don't know. But right now it is.
Yep.
All right. And then Jeffrey, who started us off with a 3-part question. Says, I've heard some people use PPC spend divided by sessions and PPC clicks divided by sessions in general when you have incorporate and mix sessions into your PPC metrics. This could also be controversial.
I don't think it's that controversial when you use AMC to justify the data. So AMC is probably our most powerful news source of information. And what AMC allows us to pull is a media.
Real quick, can you just explain what you're talking about?
Yeah, AMC is Amazon Marketing Cloud, which allows us to pull in retail insights, search insights, DSP insights, and view all of it in one point. So we can pull all type of different queries that actually allow us to see different concepts. Path to purchase is one of the biggest ones, which will show us directly if a customer clicked on an organic placement and then a sponsored product ad, sponsored brand video ad, sponsored display ad, and a DSP ad. It shows us that path and the percentage of our customers that went through that funnel. So we can say, hey, when a customer views the combination of these 3 ad types, their conversion rate likelihood improves by 30 to 40%. So that is huge. Another thing that it shows is media mix insights, which is, again, the combination of all the ad types. So with that, we can see that when they have multiple sessions across all of the ad types, they're more likely to convert. That's one. The second most important aspect and the main flaw in this whole philosophy is that consider you're making data decisions just on your sessions, right? If I saw that data, what I'm going to go do is lower my bid to 5 cents and target all of the absolute worst impressions and session keywords, because that's going to be the cheapest just to drive up my sessions. So it fundamentally influences bad decision making, because if you're only looking at that session number, I can drive sessions all day long. As Stephen Pope says, traffic's his favorite thing. But if those sessions aren't converting, it's not actually driving top line sales increases. So you need some combination of conversion rate and sessions to actually make a good decision. Because again, if you're only basing it on sessions, I can get people to click on my ad all day long. That doesn't mean they're going to convert.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And, Amazon's giving us so much data that it's like there's this kind of friction between what do I actually pay attention to and what should I not pay attention to. And some of it is, you could pay attention to a few for a while and see, is this making a difference if I monitor it or not?
Yep.
But what you don't want to do is I'll use another flying analogy, because I wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid, and maybe deep down inside I wish I had pursued that, but I do enjoy what I'm doing now. But there is actually, not far from where I'm at now in Miami, there was a crash in the 70s because there was a light bulb out on one of the indicators on the plane, and they forgot to check that they lost altitude and they crashed. So by the time they realized, literally was too late, and they crashed, and it was awful. And so that is one of those things you want to be careful of, not focusing too much on the wrong metric of, is this just a metric that helps me clue into other things I should be looking at? Or are you spending all your time focusing on that and missing out on altitude, which is a pretty important one? So, yes. Or profitability, or, overall, is it the right traffic? Those type of things.
Yes.
So, all right. So with that, I think we might have time for one more question. Lots of good questions in here, and I'm going to try to just pick one. But I might just randomly pick one here. Thoughts on Amazon DSP, where all the criteria on who's best suited for it and who it's not right for. So I'll let you 100% take that one, Destaney.
Yeah. So Amazon DSP is, in my opinion, one of their most powerful advertising methods. It's pretty much like a rocket ship with every single indicator, if you're flying, that you could ever need. And the whole concept of it is Amazon has all of their customer data, obviously, that they don't typically show us in PPC. Well, they allow us to target that on DSP. So we can say, hey, I'm selling car seats. Let me target every single woman between the ages of 19 and 40 who have bought a prenatal in the last 365 days. So it's a lot more strategic and granular, but it's a little bit more disruptive. So a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, this is for me. I'm like, well, not quite. If you're targeting the keyword prenatal, someone's searching for a prenatal. But if you're going out and targeting a woman who, was pregnant or something like that, it's a little bit more disruptive. So Amazon DSP is best for those who are ready to go out and get their customer rather than waiting on their customer to come to Amazon and find them. It does incredibly well for high price points and high lifetime value products. So anything that has subscribe and save, Amazon DSP should be ran with your search 100% of the time. There's very few instances nowadays where I'm like, no, you shouldn't be doing both. They should be both ran hand in hand for the right type of products.
Awesome. Are there any type of products you would not recommend it for?
Low price point products that aren't optimized for conversion rate, because again, DSP is a lot more disruptive. Brands who aren't willing to spend. So moving up the funnel is a really big thing. And you have to make sure you're educating your brands on DSP and what DSP is best for. Oh,
awesome.
Can I answer one more question that I like?
Please do. Pick the question you want.
Jeremy asked, a product is running at tacos a 5% more than you're comfortable with after optimizing. Sales are steady. Average order value is over 20%. Should you raise prices or be optimized further at risk of cutting top performing keywords? So I just did a really big webinar on this exact scenario, and I highly recommend everyone check it out. I walk through specific how you should analyze tacos. And one of the key points, the first thing I recommend looking at when you're considering tacos is what is your ad sales to organic sales percentage? It's the first metric I think that's important for tacos. If I see that over 50% of my sales are coming from ads, I know I more than likely need to focus on my organic rank, because I need my organic sales to decrease or increase. So that way I'm not constantly relying on my ads to acquire that customer. So we then set up campaigns and start shifting our budgets from profitability campaigns to our ranking campaigns. So that way we can improve the organic revenue, which will in theory decrease your tacos, because now you're spending the same amount of money, but you're going after less profitable targets. So your ACOS will increase, but your tacos will decrease if ran appropriately.
Awesome. Well, this was a great AMA. Folks at Ad Badger wanted to comment on that as well. So Michael Erickson Fasheen actually will be on a future episode of our AMA. So his marketing folks may or may not know that. And then for folks that want to join your future webinars or learn more from you, where would they go?
Yeah, I would say check us out at betterams.com and or follow my Better AMS team on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely follow Destaney on LinkedIn. Lots of great stuff. Follow them over at betterams.com. Sign up for their list. And that way you can get all the best info and be able to attend some of Destaney's webinars, which I highly recommend you do. So with that, Destaney, thank you for joining us. And for everybody watching, thank you for being on. And we'll have the replay up for this for a while. So thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you so much. See ya.